Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Thanks for putting your location in the chat. I love getting to see where we're all from. I see someone from Texarkana, Texas. I'm from East Texas. So that is around my stomping grounds. Love it. We're going to give everybody a couple of minutes here to get started.
A lot of Texas in the chat. Well, good morning, everybody.
Yeah. I usually, when I do a webinar, I have a goal to see if we span all the time zones. That's usually my goal. I've seen California and I see Connecticut. We've done, obviously, we're in Central Time Zone. Do we have anyone in Mountain? We have Arizona.
Got a Tennessee, not too far from me.
There you go. Very nice. And there's a Colorado. So I know Colorado is in Mountain Time Zone. This is also a good geography test for me.
That's right.
Right? All right. Well, good deal. All right, well, we have a lot we want to get through, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Please continue to contribute in the chat as we go through today. We will try to answer as we go. If we can't, we'll try to have time at the end for questions. But either way, we can always follow up with you afterwards as well. So welcome to our Ready, Set, Connect webinar with the Back to School Rush reveals about the family experience. We're going to start with some introductions here.
All right. Well, hello to everyone. Either good morning or good evening, depending on what time zone you're in. My name's Kevin Stevenson. I'm a solution engineer here at Finalsite. I've been here about 5 years. In our role, me and Joanna are both solution engineers. We help do presentations like this. We connect with clients, see if our products are a good fit for them, and just a really good product expert and kind of answer technical questions as well on any of our products. Before then, though, I had a life in education. I was a CTO for 26 years at 3 different districts across the state of Alabama. Also was in the school communications director and a school safety coordinator. Those of you in schools know you don't get to keep one title. They're going to put as many titles on as you can if you're good at something. And so enjoyed my experience there, but also glad to be on this side of the screen helping others too. And I'm living in North Alabama in the Muscle Shoals region of the state. And we'll hand it over to Joanna for the next.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome everyone. So like Kevin said, he and I are both solutions engineers, so we get to do calls like this, which we absolutely love. I've been with Finalsite since 2017. I started as a part-time contractor in support, and I'm so thankful they kept me around, and I loved it so much. Spent quite a bit of time working in our client education and training department, and now getting to do the solutions engineer side. And we have a fantastic team. And if you've ever interacted with anyone on our team, you'll know how awesome the team is. I also have a background in education. I taught for 17 years. I taught K through 12 at various times. I learned about myself that I'm not really a kindergarten teacher. If you have to sing a song to get them to sit down, I'm just kind of not that person. I really loved middle and high school, but I always taught technology. The last school I worked at was an international school in Shanghai, China, and I was the technology specialist there. When I was hired, they had just signed a contract with Finalsite, and that was my role for, well, one of the hats I wore was to launch that website with them, and absolutely loved it. And that's what brought me onto Finalsite. I'm so thankful it did. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, so big shout out to all of our Texas people. But again, love seeing all of our all across the country being represented and probably beyond that. We'd love to connect with you, as Kevin said, too. We're always open to questions or reach out to us, connect with us in any way. And we're happy to help as you work through software or best practices as well. So as we think about back to school, how many of you feel like you're in that back to school chaos right now? Probably everyone. As you look at some of the questions that I pulled from Facebook, these are real questions that I found on Facebook. Do any of these resonate with you? Have you seen these anywhere on social media or getting these kinds of phone calls and emails? I'm sure you are. These are some pretty common questions that get asked. Back to school really is a stress test for the family experience. When families need answers, they move between channels very quickly, and every one of those interactions shapes their confidence in the school. Where are parents asking their back to school questions? They're absolutely looking at Facebook and Google and maybe your mobile app, or you're hopefully going to your website. And then of course, we're starting to see people go to ChatGPT or asking their neighbors, whoever can get them that answer the quickest is what they're looking for. And my kids are grown now. They're in their early 20s, but it was not that long ago. I was that nervous parent too, and needed to get, all the answers immediately is what I felt like. And research reinforces that too. When parents are asked what channels are effective for receiving general school information, there wasn't just one channel that completely stood apart from the others. Families find multiple channels, email, newsletter, social media. They find them all effective. No one of those kind of stands out more than the other. So the question really isn't what channel do we use, but what are families asking, and how do we make sure the right answer is available in the right place at the right time? And there's some good news here, because about 70% of the questions schools receive are repetitive or routine questions around logistical things. Where do I find this? How do I do that? When does this start? What does my child need for? And these are predictable questions. And because they're predictable, we can be proactive about answering them. The goal isn't to control where families look, it's just to make sure they find an accurate, timely answer when they get there. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So first, we're going to talk about performing a data health check. Before we communicate anything, we need confidence that the underlying information is accurate. Then we'll move into practical updates. How can we create once, communicate everywhere, so we're working proactively instead of in a panic? And finally, we'll look at some parent outreach examples and look at how some schools are showing families where to go and guiding them toward that trusted information. So I'm going to turn over to Kevin to get us started on that data health check.
All right, thanks, Joanna. When it comes to using your products and all of your constituents, your parents, your faculty, if the data is not good, it's going to cause issues with your software platform. So you really want to make sure when school starts that this starts off, everything is working on all of your products. We're looking at this more of a practical level, not so much a technical level. But a good practice, I would do this at my school district, or great practice is to pick about 3 students you have. Pick one that's a new student that's coming, that's not been in your system before. Pick one that's maybe changing grades this year, because most of them have progressed up a grade. And also pick one that their grade level change. If you've got multiple campuses, is going to make them change schools. Like someone in 8th grade going to 9th grade, where they're going from middle school to a high school, for example. So we're looking at an example here. We just picked Ava Miller. She's expected to be going into grade 3. She was in grade 2 last year. And just look at your different products, especially your communications products. Like if you're using an enrollment software, let's make sure she's showing as grade 3 there. As we're looking across, if you're using your messaging product, whatever that may be, if it's Finalsite, it could be Messages XR, XR Enterprise, or Connect. But no matter what platform you're using, make sure Ava's a grade 3 there as well. A lot of times your website may have software or resources that involve student data. If there is, make sure they're in grade 3 there. As well as look at if you have any mobile apps or chat software things. And then you may see an issue like we see here. Well, now Ava's in grade 2 in our mobile chat software. So that's going to cause problems. That data's not right. She's not going to be in the right classes for teachers to communicate. So before all of these problems start coming back to you or getting blown up, let's walk through how to find that. Check your source data. More than likely, these are coming from an SIS. You want to make sure that it's correct. Or if there's enrollment software, make sure it's correct. Are there error logs in there? A lot of these software packages will have some error options where you can see why it's throwing something out. It could be something as simple as, we've seen this before in my lifetime, if a child's got an apostrophe in their name. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of products will take that, but maybe the chat one won't. So even though it went fine in your messaging software and your EMS, now the chat product won't take that. So we got to fix that. But they'll tell you that in a log file. A lot of software may have threshold pauses. What that means is, let's say in the middle of the year, something went wrong and it's in an empty file of the product. Instead of going through and erasing all of your users, it's like, well, if it's over 10% of the users changing, I'm going to pause until you give me an okay. So some products will have something like that you can look at. look at those, rerun your syncs, make sure it's all right. If not, then contact product support. That's what they're there for. No matter what product it is, say, hey, I've got this. I can't figure it out. I need help. Why is Ava in grade 2 in this one product? And then looking at the bottom, also go into other programs you may have. You may have learning management systems, something like Clever or ClassLink, curriculum software, testing software, lunchroom software, all those kind of products. They're all using that data. And you may not be in charge of all of those. So the 3 students you've picked, send that to your department heads. So send it to the CMP director, send it to the transportation director, all those say, hey, make sure in your software, these are reflected in these areas. And that's a good check to make sure everything's working right across the board. If not, we need to get with IT department on that. So that 10-minute kind of spot check, looking at some of the major products you interact with, can help save you a lot during the school year. Also, let's take a look at staff directories. Nearly everybody's got a staff directory on theirs. If you happen to have the Composer, we've got some automated ones. If you're not using that, it's really nice where, whenever a teacher changes or in the product, that sync can make them move to different schools or appear or take off the website if you'd like. But whether you're doing it manually or using another product, check out to make sure your retired employees are no longer on there. We want to make sure they're not in the staff directory at your schools. Do you have new employees that's onboarded? Well, are they in there or not? If you're using pictures, make sure you got a picture of them, those kind of things. Have employees changed schools or moved around? Make sure that's reflected. Plus, if you happen to be using Composer, we've released a few months ago a new contact forms option. So before you had either show an email address or show a little icon for email. But if you were skimming or looking at your site, you could see that information. Now we have a contact form. It's on there, this one here, for example. So they can just click that, a form pops up, and it sends a message to that person. But without them ever knowing their email address unless they choose to reply back to them. And that we're going to give you this presentation when it's done. And that contact form's a hyperlink. They'll show you how to set it up if you're not familiar with that. But it's basically where the staff directory is. It's one more check mark in there. You can enable the forms versus the email or text, like you used to only have 2 options before. Also, take a spot look at your different list and groups you may have. So if you've got grade level groups, if they're dynamic, that should fix itself automatically. But if they're static or you've built it manually, you can look at those. Bus numbers, like I said, you can check a bus and make sure all the right students are on the bus. Any manual groups you may have, like chess clubs or things like that, you need to update, make sure those are up to date. And any subscription list you may have for newsletters and things like that, you want to make sure that those are accurate. And if they're year-to-year based, want to make sure and change those or update their naming mechanisms. Also, something to look at is your automated messages. If you've got automation set up, like automated attendance alerts, which are great to have, so they're automated and run, we'll have your school time shifted. A lot of times, maybe you run those 30 minutes after school starts, but it seems like every year at my school district, we rearrange for traffic patterns and different reasons the school start times. So if one of your schools is shifted 10 minutes, well, maybe you need to shift your attendance messages 10 minutes sooner or later, depending on when that school shifted. Attendance code changes. Sometimes as a school system, you may make a change, or sometimes the state will make you make changes on different things. So maybe you were using X for unexcused, and now it's going to be a U. So those type of things, those automated alerts are looking at those. Also, discipline rules. We had some policies where, like, if you missed 12 unexcused days in a semester, you had to go to like a JV court, attendance court for that. Any kind of rules you may have, or if it's things like going to an early morning class or detention and things like that, if those rules are changed, if you've got those automated where it's automatically sending those notifications out, you may need to adjust that as well. If there's different level of days where that goes through. And a lot of times lunch balance rules change. Maybe CMP wants to send a lunch balance at different times. Or maybe you were on lunches, but now you've moved to the community eligibility where you don't have to do that anymore. Maybe you need to disable that. So, just kind of find out about if there's any lunch balance changes as well to make sure those are accurate on there. And kind of lastly, we've had a big upgrade in our languages over the past, really the past month. So if you've had languages that you wanted to support that we did not support before, go and take a look. Several of these applications here have had new languages added. MessageX for Enterprise, for example, has over like 280 now. So it's been really where it used to have 110 or so. So a lot of these products are getting massive language updates. So like I said, some of those will automatic, but some of those not. You need to spot check, find someone that wasn't working before. And if for some reason you're not seeing it there, let us know and support, and we can help with that. And we'll hand it over to Joanna.
Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate you being able to speak to all that from all of your years of experience as the data person, right? The technology person, because that is so valuable. So we're going to look next at, now that you feel confident that your data is correct, look at some updates you can make today that help you create ones that kind of communicate everywhere. No matter what platform you're using, these are examples of things that you want to check and kind of recheck, especially at the beginning of the year, to keep your information current and consistent throughout the year. So first, we want to look at your web content. There are some really easy things you can do right now to make sure your site and your content is ready to go. Start with anything that references a school year. Look for places where 25 and 26 needs to become 26 to 27. This is going to show up in your academic calendars, your handbooks, your testing schedules, and anything year specific. Look at your policies and initiatives, and Kevin kind of referenced that as well. So you may have testing policies that changed, or grading information, or attendancy policies that changed. Do you have any strategic initiatives that you are starting? Or maybe you ran campaigns last year that need updated impact messaging from what you've done in the past. Leadership and campus admin, almost everyone has some sort of staffing change. So those are easy pages to go take a look at. Make sure your contact information and your staff directories are correct, like Kevin said, but also don't forget those one-off pages where you may be highlighting a counselor or a certain admin. The same goes for any of your branding. I know a lot of schools will have a theme for the year or a new hashtag to use. Easy to go in and update those, make sure those are represented throughout your pages. Check your enrollment and family access points. Are your registration links correct? Are your portal links correct? Are there calls to action that take families into another system or into a form that they often fill out? And make sure those are still accurate and consistent in case anything changed over the summer. And finally, take a look at your operations and services, transportation, nutrition. Did eligibility requirements change? Did your zoning change? So that would change your bus routes, like Kevin mentioned that as well. So anything that may have changed from one year to the next, those are real easy updates to go and check on. I say it's easy, and yet you might think that actually sounds really overwhelming. So we included, as a gift to you, an AI prompt that you can use. And like Kevin said, you're going to get these slides after we're done today. So don't feel like you have to write this down or take a picture. You can copy it. But we ran this on a school site, and it was really amazing how it scanned the site, the district site. We did it on a district, so it would scan their main site. And asked it to identify content that likely needed an annual update. It didn't just give me a checklist. I was really impressed with how this prompt worked. It gave me clickable links, told me some of the same things we just talked about. Here's where these live. You might want to double check these. It labeled the priority for me, and was just a really, really easy guide to be able to go through, and got me most of the way there of all those updates that need to be made. So feel free to use this, give this a try on auditing your own content. So that's content we kind of know is out there. We know it needs to be reviewed. But the next step is we're going to go a step further and look at where might we have knowledge gaps? What don't we know we're missing? With Finalsight's Ask AI tool, if you're using that website assistant, we are uniquely positioned to be able to get insights into what families are looking for. And if you use any other chatbot tool on your website, I hope you're able to get that same insight. But it should show you what are the most commonly asked questions. Are they being answered successfully from the content on your website or not? And is there something in your source data that is just not clear? And this is where we really want our chatbot to be a strategy tool for you. And again, if you're not using that, maybe you're using something else, I hope that can provide the same thing for you. But because we're able to identify across the board, based on about 18 months of use, the most commonly answered questions, we've given you the top 5. Not surprising, the first top question asked across the board is, when is the first day of school? And this is over 18 months of data too. This is not just because it's back to school time. But some of these questions might surprise you as well. I was really interested that there's a lot of questions around safety and security, and things that and you say that in meetings, maybe in assemblies and things, but how well do we represent that on the website? So even if you don't have this data yet, think about, do we answer these clearly? And is it in a format that the Google search or a ChatGPT search will actually understand that and surface it? If you start thinking about your content writing as answering a question, like in a complete sentence, very clear, just a couple of quick sentences to answer that, that's going to help when families use those AI overview tools. Another thing Ask AI can do, of course, is show you the unresolved questions. How are families asking the question? What words are they using? What are those trending topics and categories that are coming up? And sometimes you'll learn that it's not that you're missing the answer, but maybe the vocabulary is slightly different. For example, a lot of schools will offer early childhood education. And we all understand that in the education realm and internally, but what one school learned was that families were searching for preschool programs. And so when they switched their vocabulary on their website to include preschool, these questions were suddenly resolved now and not feeling like a gap and leaving parents wondering what they offer. So you can look at what's missing and see where they found that answer and then go back and strengthen and really build that up. So the goal here isn't just to make sure that you're answering the questions, but that your content is really full so that your families trust your website, trust that content, trust those AI tools that you may be using to be a source of truth. Now, we can't talk about refreshing content without including your communications that you're sending out, because you do this year long. Your website, source of truth, and you're probably always pointing back to that. We're emailing and we're texting and we're calling and chatting all the time. So you want to build content that's ready to send. This is going to include your newsletters, mobile app notifications, your page pops, all different channels that you're using. So we're going to do a quick deep dive into a few of these areas. Let's start with your message library. Whatever communication system you're using, you should be able to create a library of content that's ready to go. You can go ahead and fill in subject line, merge tags, base content. Don't forget about those signatures that might need to be updated, again, with maybe an admin change, visual elements, maybe some headers or logos that might need your new theme or new hashtag on there. But a lot of these things you see on the screen are predictable, right? You know you're going to have a delayed start one day. You know you're going to have a bus delay that's probably going to happen. So these are predictable communications. You can go ahead and create these, leave them in an unscheduled or a draft library so that they're ready to go when the time comes. And again, this is helping you be more proactive rather than react in a panic when the bus delays. Here's a great example from St. Patrick's Episcopal Day School in Washington, D.C. They take some time during the summer to create branded headers for communications they know they're going to be sending out throughout the year. They know they do a thankful series every November. So they go ahead and do the creative work now so that in the moment, they're just focusing on the specific content they want to share. And that same idea carries over to your on-screen alerts or your page pops that you use. Review what you did last year. Can you use those again and just clone those and add in, maybe refresh the picture a little bit? Again, keep it in an unscheduled or a draft mode. And then all you have to do is swap out that date. But you're going to know things like enrollment deadlines are going to be coming up. Maybe you're in a part of the country where you're going to have weather alerts. Not so much here in Texas, but maybe there's other places that would do that. So if you have those and you know they're going to be temporary, don't forget to use those expiration dates as well. And then another big one is your posts. In whatever format that is for your system, you are somewhere you're managing your news and announcements. We've given you another AI prompt, and this one worked so well. I was also very impressed with this one. But the idea behind this prompt is to look at your archive of posts, your news announcements that you did last year, and identify things that are most likely to recur again this year. And this might surprise you. This one did. It surfaced things on the site that I tested this on that I wouldn't have remembered, like Teacher of the Month awards or Student of the Week, things like that, that you do those announcements on. Obviously, you don't know who the winner is going to be, but you know the structure of that content. And you could even go ahead and clone those, be ready for those to go. Maybe you're doing board minutes every month, or you maybe already know your fine art schedule or your band schedule, and you can go ahead and pre-create some of these. So again, all you're doing, you've got the creative work done, you're just plugging in the logistics. And while you're already auditing this content, take the opportunity to clean things up. I couldn't resist bringing in Oscar the Grouch because he's who I think of when I think about a trash can and a recycle bin,
Yep.
right? So as you're auditing, take the time to look at what's expired. What were those one-off messages that aren't going to be useful? Get those out of there. Don't be looking at clutter. Anything that's unused in your digital library, like images or videos that maybe are at this point 2 or 3 years old, get them out of there. Let's not look at clutter and clog up your file space. I have a problem with starting messages and then abandoning it because I get distracted. Then I come back and I start it again. So I would have all these unfinished drafts sitting there. I need to get those out of there. But anything that's just outdated, give it a second and while you're auditing and get those cleaned up so you're looking at fresh new content for the year. So with all of that in mind, let's look at some real world examples, and Kevin's going to share some of those with us.
Yeah, thanks, Joanna. One great thing about communications, a really good practice to have, is to put on your website how you communicate to parents. It's very important. They may be new to your area, don't understand the process. How do I opt out? Whoops, I opt out. How do I get back in? All these kind of scenarios you have. A lot of schools will do things like standardize on maybe having like a certain time the messages go out. Like at my school district, we tried to focus at 6 p.m. So no matter what school was going out, we kind of have that dedicated time. And then if you've got something that's out of the ordinary time, it's probably maybe more important to look at those type of scenarios. So we're going to look at a couple of sites here that got great examples of putting their communication plans on their site and kind of how they handle those, as well as some options like if you're launching new products, kind of like how to really promote those in your site. Going to start looking at Germantown. This is in Tennessee, near and right outside of Memphis. They do a really good job with their communications page. They do have student workers that work with them, so you can kind of see them there at the top. It's their last round of them they've had that's been helping them with their communications. So this is on a page on their district site. They've got some links to very common things like open records request or like how emergency and weather alerts may work. Looking at live streaming they have, or if you're a student wanting to apply, they've got the forms and things in there as well. As we scroll down a little bit more, they're kind of showing off some of the products they have. They have our Messages XR enterprise system. So under notifications, it's talking about kind of what that process is like, how you can log in it as a parent, and you can adjust your preferences if you'd like to. It also talks about how you can opt out or opt in, and it shows some various scenarios in the text and email and how you can get back in if you accidentally opted out. So we've got that information there. They've also got step-by-step instructions here. If you need to update your contact information, the way their scenario works is you update in their PowerSchool SIS through its parent portal, and that flows into our software. And they've also got some tabs across the top talking about their how their videos and podcasts work, where to find those. They've got links to their podcast channel where they do that, links to where they do live streaming on their TV, links to contact their team. They've also got a nice area here for their social media directory. So they have all of their schools, and they kind of focus on Facebook and Instagram at their schools and hyperlinks to get to those. So if you want to see any of those, you can toggle them to get to those. They also are using our app. And they've got their app here. So they're walking through their app, what you can do with it. They've done a really good job having a little video promoting it and kind of walking through the options it has. And then they have the links to download it, whether you're on Apple or on Google on that as well. Plus, they link their communications team. So this is their team of people that are working on their communications. They're using their staff directory element to bring those in. And they did a little trick on there where they did some modifications to where if you hover over it, it kind of shows their interest. So, Tyler loves working with pictures. Kate's their leader. She's a musician. She's always singing at the TNSPRA events. She's also heavily involved with NSPRA as well as one of the officers, and Emily. So you can see they kind of got their personalities on there as well. So that's just kind of one example of their communications page. If we look at Blessed Trinity, they've got theirs set up. So they're using our mobile app. So they talk about that on the right column here, and they've got links to download that, how to find it. They've got a button here that brings up a document about how to set it up and walk through those options. And they've got some accordions here. So you can see what's happening and text message, kind of just has a little description of how they're using that. There's social media. So it's got links to their different social medias that they have. They put communications on. And if you want to submit, they got an email address you can submit that information on if you want to submit something for social media to be posted. Some talk about their parent portal. They've got a really nice parent portal where you can log in with your parent credentials and see things like the carpool directory or student handbooks or different calendar schedules. So they've got some more private information they don't want publicly on the front site. So they've set up the parent portal for that. So that way their parents can log in and see that via the website. Talks about their emergency alerts, things you can find on their website in general, as well as where to communicate if you have media inquiries. They also have a link to their two people in their communications team with Patrick and Chrissy there with links to communicate with them if you need to. And Lakota, they also do a really good job. They're in the Midwest. They have the really nice site. They've got their big header image at the top, which I like to kind of show their communications department. They've got some talk here. They've got links here to a lot of their content, like where you can go for publications, how to download their mobile app, different options they have here, as well as some drop downs here where you can go to sign up for communication. So if you want to get on mailing list, you can do that there. View the flyers they've sent out. They're using Peachjar. So that's a link to their Peachjar system for flyers. If you need to ask a question or share feedback, they've got a form for that. How to participate in their thought exchange. They do a really good job of archiving all of their newsletters on their site. So that's got a link over to that area, as well as there's their latest district headlines. And you can subscribe to those here if you'd like to, or go to their archive of more. And then they're showing their social media here. So they're showing a stream of their Instagram, their latest posts coming through. And then they've got their staff directory at the bottom as well. And they also have a link to their social media directory where it brings up a list of all of their schools and their different social media accounts they have. And you can click on and you kind of got a grid view of, which ones the different schools have. So they do a really good showing of kind of compiling all that together for anyone in the community looking for that kind of information. The next thing we're going to talk about, what if you're releasing something new? We do have a two-way chat app we've had out for about a year now. We're continuing to make upgrades to it, give it more features and functionality. These are 3 schools that recently launched it. And one thing they want to do is make sure that your parents and teachers as well have a good understanding of how it works. How do I download it? How do I use it? Where do I go to send messages? How does this kind of work? So I'm going to show you just a couple of examples of some schools that have set this up. The great thing about all the examples we're showing you is you can admire and acquire these. You see something you like, ooh, I like this part. I want to put that on my side. I like the way they handled this. So these are great examples, and you'll have this presentation at the end so you can go through and get that information and see that. Here they're talking about on ours, you can do it through a mobile app, through a download, or you can do the web browser if you'd like. So either one of those can open that up. They've got links to PDF versions of the parent, student, and teacher staff instructions, or they got it visually below. So for parents and guardians, they've got the step to walk through to open it in either the mobile app or the web interface. Once you open it up, it's the same. They're using their Skyward email addresses to log in. And then below, then you can see the different features you can do, the direct messages, chat rooms, kind of the expectations of the responsibilities of, what's expected of the teachers and also what's expected of parents, to allow time for a response, those type of things to make that's there. And if you're still needing assistance, they've got a form to go to their tech support, or they can email chat administration there if they're faculty and staff to get support on those. And at the top, you can obviously go through and see different personas, like what about students, what about faculty? You just kind of see their different options they have there. Another one is Prince of Peace. I really like the way they did theirs. I love their logo. It just makes me smile. That little eagle there holding the phone. I love that. So they're using the chat and they're going through there. They've got links to the Apple and the Google Play Store version of it. As we go down, they've got some animated graphics here that are playing through. This is one of our resources. They just took screenshots and used our little built-in resource slider to slide through the different screenshots of it. And on the tech side, it's walking you through what it's talking about, how to log in, how to do that, how to set up your notifications to make sure you know when someone has a message in that chat room. So you get those in if it's from a teacher. How you can subscribe to other notifications in the app as well, because it supports website content, calendars, all those things. How to set up blackout time. So, if someone's messaging in the night, your phone's not going off, you can set up the times when that comes through. It just kind of walks through the use of using that chat, seeing the conversations, how to respond back with emojis or talking, just kind of walks them through. Plus, it's got a really nice FAQ at the bottom, just different questions they get asked, and they're putting the answers down there. And then some more information on how to use the app, how to use the different icons you have to kind of make it that one-stop shop. So they're kind of just going through those scenarios. And Mapleton, they do a really good job as well. They have theirs here. They have links for all the versions here. They've got links to the desktop version, mobile app links to download the mobile app version for Apple or Google. And then they've got tabs across the top. They're similar to Sumner in some way. They kind of have it set up. So they've got their parent and guardian login instructions there. They've got their student login instructions there, their employee instructions, and then also an FAQ for things that are their questions that are getting, and they'll just add to this and let that grow as time goes on, as people ask more questions. But then toward the bottom, they've got links of where to get to it. They've got some drop downs here of how to use chat, how to view the post in there, kind of what they can do, and just kind of gives you a lot more information about the product. Plus, they've got a channel set up to email for any questions that people may have about it. So that's just kind of three takes on ways if you're launching something new initiative. We're talking about chat here. It could be any initiative in the district, anything you want to do to give parents that knowledge, whether it's new curriculum software, whatever it may be, to kind of give them really good options on how to use it, how to log in, and where to go for help and different help resources. Yeah, and lastly, one thing I want to point out is our something you can do for verification. We have a lot of schools that like to do this. Nashville is one of those. They do this a lot. Typically before school starts, our messaging products can do mail merges. So they'll set up a mail merge of all the contact information they have. So they'll send out an email, something like this that says, here's the information we have on file. This is the email we're going to email. This is the phone numbers we have for text, for phone calls, those type things, whether you're opt in or out or not, those kind of things, and mail merge that out. They can put a button at the bottom to go to a form that they could fill out. And when they choose the school or what it is, they can automatically route to an attendance secretary or registrar or whoever would be in charge of that. Or you may have an EMS software. We have one at Finalsite as well that can do that as well, where it can send that information out and they can upgrade it there and it can push it into your SIS if you'd like to kind of automate that process to a point. So several ways of doing that. It's just good to get that information in front of your parents, because if you're not using an enrollment system or something like that, sometimes something may be out of date and they don't realize it, or maybe they misspelled something when they filled out their forms and it's incorrect on there, or the numbers transposed, something like that. So it's a really good way to keep your contact information up to date, just by allowing parents to see that information. And we got several ways of doing that. This is one way that several of our clients do, where they'll just send it out as a mail merge to get that out. And that's kind of our back to school tips and information. Glad we could present to you today. And if you have questions, we're definitely can talk to those and answer any questions you may have about what we went over, or any questions you have about starting school up back.
Yeah, and I'll just add too, if you heard something and you think, I don't know if I have that, or I'm not sure, or could I get that, you're welcome to reach out to us as well. We can point you in the right direction. Or if you are a client with Finalsite, feel free to reach out to your client success manager. But any questions at all, we'd be happy to answer. We do have a couple of minutes left from our time today. I saw one question that looks like we answered in the chat. Is there anything else that we can answer today? I see a question just came in, Susan. How can our parents access past messages in Messages XR? So that is a great question. So if you're using Messages XR, there is a Messages element that allows you to dynamically pull messages that you've sent through the communication system and archive and display those on the website. Ryan actually posted an article link, just a couple of comments above yours. That's a great resource for that. And then, so yeah, check that out. And there is a way to include that archive on there. Great question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think building out an archive page, is also a really good resource to give your families, right? Because they know if I can't find it in my email or I'm not sure, I always can go to this page and look at what's been sent out. And that's a great tip.
And one of the examples we showed was like Lakota's communications plan. They've got links in there to their publications, and they do that a lot. They're using Messages XR, and they're putting a lot of their communications that are coming out of that automatically on their website without them having to go do that manually. It's set to look at certain tags and auto post that to their website.
Absolutely. And Ryan, also good call out that if you use our mobile app, you also have the ability to push notifications of communications that you're sending out to the app, which also creates an archive. So again, it's that create once, communicate everywhere, right? Where you're pushing it to the app, you're pushing it to email and to a kind of a news archive page as well. So at least maybe you can answer, hey, we've sent it out to you. Hopefully they will read it before they go searching for answers. But you've hopefully covered all those channels that they say are effective, right? We looked at that at the beginning. Awesome. Okay, I think a poll has been started there, so we'd love for you to engage with that and give us some information if you would like to follow up with anything. Otherwise, I think we will go ahead and stop for the webinar today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, great to meet you.